In the grand tapestry of ancient Egypt, some gods shine bright: Ra, Osiris, Isis. But in their shadow stands Tefnut, the goddess of moisture, often overlooked yet vital to creation itself. Tefnut was not a minor figure. As the goddess of dew and rain, she brought life to Egypt's arid lands, embodying the subtle but essential moisture that sustained the world. Her duality defined her, nurturing as morning mist, fierce as a desert lioness. She and her twin brother Shu, god of air, formed the first divine pair, setting the stage for all creation. Tefnut's story is one of power, anger, and reconciliation, a reminder of the delicate balance of nature. As a member of the Great Ennead, she was a daughter, sister, wife, and mother to Egypt's most powerful gods. To understand Tefnut is to rediscover a forgotten cornerstone of Egyptian religion. Tefnut's story begins in Heliopolis, where the creator god Atum emerged from chaos and brought forth Shu and Tefnut, the first gods, air and moisture. Tefnut was more than a goddess. She was a principle of existence, the life-bringing humidity that made the world fertile. Her union with Shu produced Geb, earth, and Nut, sky, continuing the cosmic order and making her the grandmother of the world. Tefnut's lineage anchored the divine family tree, her presence essential in both myth and ritual. Priests invoked her in purification ceremonies, believing her essence infused the waters that cleansed and renewed. Tefnut was a tangible force in Egyptian life, a pillar upholding creation itself. Tefnut was not just a gentle goddess, she was also the fierce eye of Ra, a force of protection and wrath. In the myth of the distant goddess, Tefnut, enraged, transforms into a lioness and flees Egypt, plunging the land into drought and chaos. Only through Thoth's cunning is she persuaded to return, restoring moisture and balance to the world. Her lioness form symbolized untamed power, linking her to other fierce goddesses like Sekhmet and Bastet. Tefnut's dual nature, life-giver and destroyer, reminded Egyptians to respect the unpredictable forces of nature. She was the raw, divine energy of the feminine, both revered and feared. In Egypt, a god's name was power. Tefnut's name, mysterious and evocative, hints at her origins. Most scholars link her name to the verb tef, to spit, reflecting the myth where Atum spits her into existence. Her name is both a sound and an act, embodying the creative force of the spoken word. Speaking Tefnut was to invoke the moment of creation, when moisture and air first separated from chaos. Her name was a living myth, a reminder of the world's birth. To utter it was to participate in the ongoing act of creation. Tefnut's name in hieroglyphs reveals her essence: 4 phonetic signs, often accompanied by a spitting mouth, directly referencing her mythic origin. The Egyptians used these symbols not just for clarity, but to embed theology into writing. A determinative of a seated goddess, sometimes with a lioness head, confirmed her divine status. Her name was both action and identity, a visual and verbal invocation of her power. Writing her name was a sacred act, reaffirming her place in the cosmic order. Through hieroglyphs, Tefnut's story and significance endured, etched into the very language of the gods. The etymology of Tefnut's name has other intriguing possibilities. Some scholars link her name to Tefen, meaning to be separate, lost, or an orphan. This resonates with her story as the distant goddess, defining her act of self-imposed exile. Another inquiry connects Tefnut and the moon, elements linked to moisture and cyclical return. Ultimately, the true origin of Tefnut's name may be lost to time. The multiple meanings enrich our understanding of this multifaceted goddess. The story of Tefnut is linked to the very beginning of the cosmos, a time before time. Nothing existed but a dark, swirling ocean of chaos known as Nun. From these waters, the creator god, Atum, willed himself into existence. Alone, Atum contemplated the emptiness. Through parthenogenesis, he brought forth the first gods. He produced Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture. Tefnut's essence was derived directly from the Creator, a part of him. This origin story establishes her role as a foundational element of the universe. They are the very first chapter in the story of the ordered world. Born together, Tefnut and Shu were divine counterparts. Shu, god of the air, represented the vast emptiness. Tefnut, goddess of moisture, represented life-giving humidity. They were the original divine pair. Without Shu, no space. Without Tefnut, a lifeless void. Their relationship was the first partnership in the Egyptian cosmos. They became husband and wife. The very nature of air and moisture could lead to tension. This is explored in the myth of the distant goddess. Their reunion restores balance. Together, they represented the atmosphere. They were the twin pillars upon which the sky rested. Their story is a testament to the Egyptian understanding of natural balance. As the first divine mother, Tefnut's union with Shu was profoundly creative, producing the next crucial layer of the physical universe. Geb, the god of the earth, and Nut, the goddess of the sky. Tefnut became the mother of the very foundations of the tangible world. This maternal role placed Tefnut at the heart of the divine family tree. Her genealogical significance extended further, making her a grandmother to Osiris, Isis, and others. Her bloodline was the lineage of power. She was the foundational matriarch of the cosmos and of Egyptian royalty itself. The divine family that began with Atum forms the core of one of ancient Egypt's most important theological concepts, the Great Ennead of Heliopolis. The Ennead was a council of 9 primordial deities who were seen as the architects and governors of the cosmos. The 9 members included Atum, Shu, and Tefnut, Geb, and Nut, and Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys. Together, these deities embodied the fundamental forces of the universe. The Ennead of Heliopolis was a powerful theological system that sought to bring order and understanding to the universe. Its influence spread far beyond the city of Heliopolis. For a deity to be part of this group was to hold a position of immense prestige and power. The ancient Egyptians often depicted Tefnut as a lioness, representing her fierce duality. She embodied both gentle moisture and untamed power. Commonly, she was portrayed as a woman with a lioness head, conveying her capacity for nurturing and destruction. This connected her to other lioness goddesses like Sekhmet and Bastet. Giving Tefnut a lioness head symbolized her status as an active, dangerous force and protector. Sometimes she appeared as a complete lioness, or even a lion-headed serpent, representing divine wrath and royal authority. Tefnut's divine status was communicated through symbols, most notably the headdress she wore. As a lioness-headed woman, she often wears a long wig. Atop this wig, she wears symbols that connect her to the sun god Ra. Most frequently, she is crowned with a large solar disk. Encircling the solar disk is the uraeus, a potent emblem of protection and divine power. By wearing both, Tefnut's headdress is a powerful statement of her identity. She is a solar lioness, armed with the venom of the cosmic serpent. This combination of symbols left no doubt as to her immense power. Some texts describe her as breathing flames, a representation of her wrathful nature. In this context, Tefnut is more than a person. She is a concept, a fundamental principle of the universe. Her image becomes a symbol of moisture, protection, and divine matriarchy. While the leonine form was her most common and powerful manifestation, Tefnut was not always depicted as a fearsome beast. There were instances where she was shown in a fully human form. In these portrayals, she appears as a beautiful woman adorned with the regalia of a goddess, including the solar disk and uraeus headdress that signified her divine rank. This human form revealed the other side of her nature, the benevolent, nurturing goddess, the divine consort of Shu, and the mother of Geb and Nut. It allowed her to be seen not just as a terrifying force of nature, but as a relatable member of the divine family, capable of love, jealousy, and reconciliation. This fully human depiction became particularly prominent during a revolutionary period in Egyptian history, the Amarna period, under the rule of the pharaoh Akhenaten. During this time, traditional religious practices were radically altered, and the iconography of the gods shifted. In art from this era, Tefnut is often shown in human form, sometimes alongside her brother Shu, as they attend the new sun god, the Aten. This shift may have been part of Akhenaten's attempt to present the gods in a more relatable manner, moving away from the animal-headed hybrids that had dominated religious art for centuries. The most unique iconography for Tefnut from this period is a special headdress she wears in her human form. Instead of the traditional solar disk, she is depicted with a low, flat-topped crown from which green plants appear to be sprouting. This imagery is a direct reference to her primary function as a goddess of moisture and fertility. The sprouting plants visually represent the life-giving power of the water she embodies, showing her as the source of vegetative growth and abundance. This headdress is a powerful symbol of her nurturing aspect, a clear contrast to the fiery wrath of her leonine form. Furthermore, this human form of Tefnut became closely associated with royal women, particularly during the 18th and 19th dynasties. Great queens, such as Queen Tai, the powerful mother of Akhenaten, and perhaps even Nefertiti, were identified with the goddess. By portraying themselves as earthly manifestations of Tefnut, these queens elevated their own status, aligning themselves with the primary creative goddess and the divine eye of Ra. This identification suggested that they, like Tefnut, were protectors of the king and the nation, possessing both nurturing and formidable qualities. This fusion of royal and divine identity shows just how deeply Tefnut was woven into the ideology of power in ancient Egypt. Tefnut's worship was centered in Unu, better known as Heliopolis, the city of the sun. This was one of the oldest religious centers, home to the priesthood of Ra. Within Heliopolis, Tefnut had dedicated sacred spaces, including a sanctuary known as the Lower Menset. She played a vital part in the city's religious life, deeply connected with rites of purification. The priests of Heliopolis ensured her place in the cosmic order was remembered. The city of the sun was her most important home. While Heliopolis was her primary theological center, Tefnut's worship took on a unique and powerful form in another city in the Nile Delta. This place was known to the ancient Egyptians as Taremu, and later to the Greeks as Leontopolis, a name that translates directly to the City of Lions. Here the leonine aspect of Tefnut's character was brought to the forefront. In Leontopolis, she was venerated alongside her twin brother and consort, Shu, not in human or hybrid form, but as a pair of living lions. This form of worship was a direct and vivid celebration of their shared ferocity and their combined power as atmospheric deities, a living embodiment of their divine nature. The practice of keeping sacred animals in temple precincts was common in ancient Egypt, but the veneration of live lions at Leontopolis was particularly significant. These magnificent predators were seen as the physical incarnation of Shu and Tefnut, earthly vessels for their divine spirits. Priests would have cared for these sacred lions, feeding them, attending to their needs, and interpreting their behaviors as divine omens. Worshippers could visit the temple to see the gods in their most primal and awe-inspiring form, a terrifying and beautiful sight that would have left a lasting impression. It was a worship based not on static idols, but on the living, breathing power of nature's most formidable hunters. This focus on their leonine form connected the cult at Leontopolis directly to the myth of the distant goddess. Tefnut's transformation into a raging lioness and her flight to the southern deserts was a core part of her identity. By worshipping her as a living lion, the priests of Leontopolis were acknowledging and honoring this wild, untamable aspect of her character. It was a way of keeping her power close, of appeasing her potential wrath within the safety of a temple enclosure. The presence of her brother Shu as the other lion in the pair symbolized the force needed to pacify her, the balance of air and moisture, and the eventual harmony that came from their reunion. The cult at Leontopolis therefore offered a different perspective on Tefnut. While Heliopolis emphasized her role in creation and divine genealogy, Leontopolis celebrated her raw power and her connection to the wild. It was a cult that appealed to a visceral, primal understanding of the divine. Worshipping a living lioness was a constant reminder that the goddess of gentle dew was also a being of immense and deadly force. This city became a focal point for all the leonine deities, but the original divine twins, Shu and Tefnut, were at its heart, forever bound together as the sacred lions of the Delta. Tefnut's influence was not confined to her specific cult centers, but extended into the very heart of Egyptian state religion and royal ideology. As a member of the Great Ennead and the great-grandmother of Horus, the divine model for all kings, she held a significant place in the religious life of the pharaoh. Her name was invoked in temples far beyond Heliopolis and Leontopolis, most notably in the vast and sprawling sacred complex of Karnak in Thebes. Here, in the religious capital of the New Kingdom, Tefnut was recognized as part of the great cosmic order that legitimized and protected the king on his throne. She was a goddess of national importance. In the grand litanies and prayers recited at Karnak, Tefnut's name would be called upon alongside the other members of the Ennead. These prayers often sought blessings for the pharaoh, asking for health, long life, and victory over Egypt's enemies. By invoking Tefnut, the priests were calling upon her dual nature. They sought her nurturing aspect, the life-giving moisture that ensured the land's prosperity and the king's vitality. At the same time, they called upon her protective power as the Eye of Ra, asking her to act as a fiery shield for the pharaoh, to strike down his enemies with her leonine fury, just as she protected her father Ra on his solar journey. This royal connection was further strengthened by the identification of queens with the goddess. As we have seen, powerful royal women like Queen Tia were depicted in the guise of Tefnut, adopting her attributes and, by extension, her divine authority. This created a powerful political and religious statement. It suggested that the queen, like Tefnut, was a crucial partner in maintaining cosmic and earthly order. She was the pharaoh's consort, just as Tefnut was Shu's, and she embodied the fierce, protective instincts of the Divine Mother and the Eye of Ra. This association elevated the queen's status immeasurably, making her a living goddess in the eyes of her people. Therefore, the worship of Tefnut was deeply embedded in the institution of kingship. She was a primordial ancestress of the royal line, a powerful protector of the reigning monarch, and a divine model for the queen. The pharaoh's well-being was intrinsically linked to the balance of the cosmos, a balance that Tefnut helped to maintain. Her anger could bring drought and chaos, threatening the stability of the entire nation. Appeasing her through worship and ritual was therefore not just a religious duty, but a matter of state security. For the pharaoh, ensuring Tefnut was honoured was essential for guaranteeing his own health, the prosperity of his kingdom, and the continuation of his divine rule. Tefnut embodied the Eye of Ra, a distinct and powerful divine entity. The Eye of Ra represented the active power of the sun god, protecting his creation and punishing enemies. As Ra's daughter, she was his agent, her power a reflection of his. Tefnut became a dynamic force, the ultimate protector of Ma'at. She accompanied Ra, repelling chaos, ensuring the sun's return. Her role was essential for the daily cycle, defending against darkness. The Eye of Ra exacted punishment, taking the form of Sekhmet. This showcased the destructive potential within the Eye of Ra. She was both life-giving moisture and scorching fire, a fierce protector ensuring cosmic order. The myth of Tefnut explores her wrathful nature in a narrative known as the Distant Goddess. Enraged, Tefnut abandons Egypt, transforming into a fearsome lioness and fleeing to Nubia. Her departure causes drought and throws the cosmic order into disarray, demonstrating her indispensability. Ra sends Thoth to persuade Tefnut to return, relying on cunning and flattery. Tefnut agrees, and her journey back is a triumphant procession, restoring balance and celebrated with festivals. The myth illustrates the need to respect the divine and that even anger can be soothed by wisdom and reconciliation. Tefnut had a fundamental role as the source of pure life-giving waters. In the pyramid texts, Tefnut produces pure water. This imagery was a statement about her role as a source of primal, untainted life force. This pure water had a crucial function in temple rituals, particularly those involving purification. They were washing away their mortal impurities with the very substance of a creator goddess. This role connects her deeply to the themes of cleansing, renewal, and rebirth. Just as her waters brought life to the arid land of Egypt, they were believed to bring new life to the soul. It shows her as a goddess of profound duality, capable of both destruction and life-affirming sustenance. Beyond her cosmic functions, Tefnut's mythology is rich with stories about her relationships with other gods, revealing a personality full of passion, jealousy, and influence. Her primary relationship was with her twin brother and husband, Shu. Together they formed the first divine couple, a partnership essential for creation. However, their bond was not always simple. The myth of the distant goddess can be read as a marital dispute on a cosmic scale, where Tefnut's departure throws the entire world into jeopardy. Their reunion is a reaffirmation of their codependence, a lesson that the balance between air and moisture is delicate and must be maintained through mutual respect. Her relationship with her father, Ra'atum, was also deeply complex and emotionally charged. She was his beloved first daughter, but also his powerful, independent eye. The quarrel that sparks her flight to Nubia is a classic tale of a daughter challenging her father's authority, demanding recognition and respect for her own power. Her eventual return, negotiated with promises of greater honor, shows Ra's acknowledgement of her importance. He cannot rule effectively without her. This father-daughter dynamic adds familial drama to the cosmic order, portraying the gods not as distant, unfeeling forces, but as beings with relatable emotions and complex dynamics. A particularly intriguing and unusual story from the Ramesside period details a complicated relationship with her own son, the earth god Geb. After Shu had separated Geb from his sister wife Nut, Geb fell into a deep state of longing. He then developed a powerful desire for his own mother, Tefnut. In this myth, he succeeds in taking her as his chief queen consort, an act of divine incest that crosses generational lines. This story is shocking and highlights Tefnut's enduring power and desirability. Even as a matriarch and grandmother, she remains a figure of immense allure and authority, capable of commanding devotion and disrupting the divine order. These stories paint a portrait of Tefnut as far from a static symbol of moisture. She was an active and influential character in the grand drama of the Egyptian pantheon. Her relationships were central to major myths, and her emotional state could impact the stability of the universe. She was a loving but demanding wife, a loyal but independent daughter, and a powerful matriarch whose influence extended through generations. These roles show her as a fully realized personality, a divine being whose stories reflect the complexities of power, family, and natural forces. Tefnut was far more than a minor goddess. She stands as a figure of immense importance, woven into creation and cosmic order. Her legacy is one of profound duality. From her birth to her age as a lioness, Tefnut represents a spectrum of divine power. As one of the first beings to emerge, she was a fundamental building block of the universe. This makes her the great matriarch of the most powerful gods. The image of the lioness-headed goddess is one of the most potent symbols, a visual shorthand for the divine feminine. Her formidable presence can still be felt, a testament to her lasting importance. Tefnut embodies balance, reflecting the ancient Egyptian view of the universe as opposing forces. She is both gentle moisture and the fiery eye of Ra, reflecting nature's profound truth, giving and taking life. As Atum's saliva, she's life-giving, yet her rage transforms her into a ferocious lioness. This balance of creation and destruction made her immensely complex. Tefnut represents the untamable divine, reminding us that harmony requires acknowledging all facets of power. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Tefnut's role can seem muted, overshadowed by Ra, Geb, Nut, Isis, and Osiris. Yet she is a forgotten cornerstone upon which the cosmos was built. Without her, there is no moisture, no birth of earth and sky, no lineage for the gods. Her obscurity is a curious fate for a goddess of such importance. She is the original eye, the first daughter whose departure brings the system to its knees. Tefnut's story reminds us that the most important forces are not always the most conspicuous. Tefnut remains a silent, watchful, and essential presence in ancient Egypt.